In a world of over 8 billion people, most of us move through life without stopping to notice the strange or the unexplained. Yet some stories slip through, stories that seem to defy understanding and linger at the edge of reality. On the morning of December 1st, 1948, in Adelaide, Australia, a man was found lying face up on Somerton Beach. He was well dressed, shoes on, clothing neat, no wallet, no ID, and nothing to tell his story. Inside a hidden pocket, a scrap of paper with the words "Tamum Shud" was found, translating to "It is finished." Not far away, police recovered a rare copy of a Persian book, with the last page torn out, the page containing the very same words. Inside the book, someone had penciled a phone number and a short, indecipherable string of letters, a code which no one could solve. To help identify him, investigators later made a plaster death mask, a precise casting of his face, allowing them to show the man's features to the public and to anyone who might recognize him. When the police showed the mask to a local nurse, Jessica Ellen, she reportedly turned pale as though she recognized him, but then fell silent and refused to provide any additional information or answers. The autopsy report offered no tidy conclusions, no obvious injuries, no clear signs of poisoning. His organs even suggested that he had eaten only hours before his death. Yet some experts suggest that a rare toxin could have been his cause of death, something without a trace. Was this a suicide, or perhaps a final message to someone else, or possibly something more complex? Some believe this may have been an act of espionage in a world quietly on the edge of the early Cold War. Other small clues add to the puzzle. A half-smoked cigarette was tucked into his collar, an unused train ticket, handwriting that led nowhere. Even decades later, DNA and genealogical research suggest that he was likely Carl Charles Webb. Yet another torn page. The cryptic code and the nurse's reaction remain unexplained. On Christmas Eve, December 24th, 1945, in Fayetteville, West Virginia, tragedy struck the Sodder family. George and Jenny Sodder escaped a fire as it consumed their home, fleeing the scene alongside 5 of their 10 children. But the other 5, Maurice, Martha, Louis, Jenny Irene, and Betty, vanished without a trace. At first, it all seemed like a terrible accident. Fires happen, even on holidays, but the details just didn't add up. The family ladder, which could have allowed the children to escape, was missing from its usual place. George's truck, which never failed him, refused to start. Outside, a rain barrel was frozen solid, even though the temperatures didn't justify it. And the family phone line, crucial for calling help, hadn't been burned in the fire, but was later discovered to have been cut cleanly 14 feet up the pole. As firefighters searched the ruins, they found almost nothing, not a single body, only a few bone fragments that could not be definitively identified as human remains. The coroner quickly ruled it an accident, citing faulty wiring, but George and Jenny couldn't accept that explanation. Over the following weeks, strange reports began to surface. Neighbors claimed to have seen children matching the descriptions of the missing 5, sometimes accompanied by strangers, other times alone. One woman even stated that she had served them breakfast a day after the fire. Letters, tips, and sightings continued to pour in, but none led to answers. In an unverifiable claim by George, the night before the fire, an insurance salesman visited the home, issuing an ominous warning. Months later, that same man sat on the coroner's jury that ruled the fire an accident. And in the days leading up to Christmas, George had increased the family's insurance policy, and while there is no proof of wrongdoing, these coincidences only added to the mystery, casting doubt upon the official story. George and Jenny refused to give up. They erected billboards across West Virginia with their children's faces, asking, "Kidnapped, murdered, or still alive?" They spent years following leads, calling anyone who would listen, and still, this mystery remains unsolved. In February 1978, 5 friends from Yuba County, California, set out on what seemed like an ordinary evening of fun with friends. They had gone to a neighboring town to see a college basketball game. After the game, they stopped for snacks before beginning their journey home. The night was cold, the roads were dark, but nothing about the evening could have suggested what was coming next. By morning, the friends were gone. Days later, their car was found, 70 miles off course, on a remote mountain road. The engine was cold, the keys were missing. Inside, the car was intact, with wrappers from their snacks neatly folded on the seat, and a map placed carefully nearby. The car was not wrecked, it had simply been abandoned. Weeks later, one of the men, Ted Weir, was found in a nearby Forest Service trailer. Yet even here, more questions arose. The trailer had a locked storeroom full of supplies, including matches, fuel, and food, but Ted had not accessed or used any of them. He had eaten only a small amount of rations stored outside. 2 miles from the trailer, investigators discovered the skeletal remains of 3 of the 5 friends. Cause of death: exposure, hypothermia, and starvation. The 5th man, Gary Mateus, was never located. The circumstances defy easy explanation. Why leave a warm car for a freezing mountainside at night? Why ignore a trailer full of usable supplies? Some reports from that night add to the unease. Headlights that flashed and vanished, figures seen walking along the road, and a trucker who recalled an unusual group. Were they distorted by the dark and snow, separated by mistake, or was there something more sinister, an unknown danger in the night that forced them apart? Investigators officially listed the deaths as accidental, yet Gary Mateus's disappearance remains suspicious, even now. The story is studied as a tragic confusion, the culmination of poor decisions, bad weather, and perhaps unseen forces, leaving questions that refuse to be answered.